Beth Sager with the Lexington Local, and I'm so excited because today this is like near and dear to my heart. I'm here with Ann Limbertis, who runs Northeast Coonhound Rescue. So you guys know I love dogs, and Ann loves dogs clearly even more so than I do because she runs this rescue. Look, and we have some dogs here. So what made you get involved?
Well, this is one of those things that you never think you would be doing in life. But my first dogs were two Basenjis, which are a small African hound dog. And they were getting older, and our daughter was in school more, and I was looking for more volunteer work to do. And I had done a lot of work with Basenji Rescue, which is a national breed rescue for Basenjis. So I had some experience with interviewing applicants and placing dogs. So I thought I might get back into rescue work, but at the same time I was looking for another dog for our family, and I wanted a bigger hound. So I was looking at various hound breeds, and I was just captivated by these coonhounds and their big eyes, long ears, and I wanted to meet some. So I started researching around New England who has coonhounds available for adoption. Go on Pet Finder, Craigslist, Adopt a Pet, and I found that there were coonhounds being posted for adoption up here, but they were all in the south. And they were in county shelters, and some of them had only a week left to be adopted. They were in really dire situations. But people up here didn't really know what a coonhound was because they're hunting dogs and they're mostly in rural areas. So it appeared to me as a sort of marketing problem. People up here need to know about these dogs, and we need to open up this market for these southern hounds. And so I came upon the idea of starting a breed rescue for coonhounds, and so brought up two dogs from Georgia in 2009, and one of them we still have. She's 14.
Okay.
The other one I found a home for, and that was the beginning. I got together with some other hound people, and a couple of us started a 501c3. So we're a nonprofit, all-volunteer rescue.
Wow.
So since then, we've brought up 1,300 coonhounds and beagles.
Seriously,
Yeah.
that's a lot of dogs.
Mostly from the south, but we also take them from New England Animal Control and occasionally owner surrenders around New England.
That's a lot of saved dogs.
Yeah.
You must feel good about that.
It's a lot of work. It's been a frantic 12 years.
Right? Right.
Yeah.
What's the hardest part?
I think several hard parts. Unexpected behavioral problems. Sometimes you don't really know until you have these dogs in a home if they're going to exhibit difficult behaviors. So we have a lot of trainers that we work with, and people have been great about accepting these dogs and their problems, and working with them. A lot of them are just things that are common with all rescue dogs. But these dogs in particular, they are a high energy breed, so they need a lot of exercise, and we try to prepare people as best we can for what, I've talked many people out of getting coonhounds.
Okay, right.
Because they do require significant containment. You can see the fencing that we have in the back here, 5.5 feet or more. And they require a lot of exercise. So not the best for an apartment or dense living situation. And then occasionally dogs come back to us. They just weren't a good fit, or people's situations change. They move. They can't take the dog, and that's always kind of disappointing. But we try to support people with whatever's going on. So.
And how big is your organization now, would you say?
We have a group of volunteers in foster homes. We probably have about 8 foster homes. We place coonhounds and beagles.
Okay.
We have a pretty active beagle group within the rescue, and the beagles come and go very quickly. They're very much in demand. Yeah, they get adopted really quickly. So we put a lot of beagles through the rescue, and probably have 4 or 5 people just working exclusively on that. And then I have an assistant director who handles a whole host of, transport arrangements, compliance with Massachusetts regulations, all of the medical records keeping and vetting, and then we have a few other volunteers, and we call on other people as we need them. We go out and do promotional work for the breed at pet expos and Paws in the Park, charity dog walks. We have a booth that we set up. So we'll have volunteers come in with their dogs to staff the booth. So nobody's paid, and there isn't a real set staff. It's just a bunch of us that, you know, we pull people in as needed.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you could always use volunteers, right? Correct?
Yeah.
What can people do to help?
Well, donate is always great because our adoption fees don't cover, you know, the whole cost of bringing a dog up here with vetting and all. Fosters, we always need fosters. We have this delightful problem that our fosters keep adopting the dogs. So, they're very lovable, and that has happened dozens of times. It's happened to us. We had 4 dogs here at one point of our own. But we do need the foster homes. That's because we don't have a building, so we're foster based. So housing is always an issue. We need people to transport dogs. Our service area is all of New England, New York, New Jersey, you know, even into Pennsylvania. So we sometimes are doing relay transports. We've had to move a few dogs to Maine recently, so we lined up several drivers, each person taking a leg. So we need people to do that. Massachusetts is a quarantine state, so all of our dogs are quarantined when they come into the state. So when the quarantine releases on Saturday, we need people sometimes to pick up dogs at quarantine and meet and adopt or bring them to their foster home.
It's nice. It's a labor of love.
It is.
Yeah. What is your like favorite personality trait of these dogs?
Oh boy. I think what appeals to me is they're pack dogs, and they're very sociable, and they get along well with other dogs. They're very deferential. They don't have an attitude. They're not looking to dominate. Most of them. I mean, they're all individuals, but so, and they're also very loving and tactile. They love to like press the flesh. They like to be next to you, cuddling, snuggling. Occasionally you'll get one that's a little aloof, but in general, I think it comes from being pack dogs and have always, you know, lived with other creatures close to them and sleeping together. So that appeals to me. And the other thing is they're just clownish and goofy.
Yeah.
You know, they're really pretty funny. Sometimes just with their antics.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think we're going to meet some. Oh, let's meet some. So this dog is up for adoption.
That's correct. This is Milburn.
Oh, Milburn. That's a nice name.
And Milburn is from Powhatan, Virginia, Central Virginia. He was found with 4 other red-tick coonhounds like this, abandoned on a property.
Oh.
And one of them was adopted locally, and we took the other 4. And he's the last remaining. We found homes for 3 of them. So this Milburn is an American English coonhound.
Okay.
With the red tick coloring.
Hi.
And all of these, you can see some of the characteristics that are common to all of the coonhound breeds. The long ears.
Heavy.
And the ears flap when the dog runs, and it helps to bring scents up to their nose.
Ah.
They have huge paws.
Oh yeah,
his
that is
paws
a huge paw.
are like the size of my fist.
Wow.
And often
Look at that.
they're webbed.
Webbed.
The toes are webbed. So these dogs were bred to go running through marsh and swamp and to be able to climb up precipices. They have a very agile body, a very slender build, and very powerful. They can jump.
So, you know, sometimes in rescue, you get them where they're mixed and stuff. But when you're rescuing coonhounds, do you find that as well? We
do. We take a lot of purebreds, and what's interesting about this breed is, you know, unlike a lot of what you see in shelters, a lot of the coonhounds, they're purebred dogs. I mean, they are from good hunting lines, and they've just fallen on hard times, or perhaps the hunter wasn't hunting anymore or just had too many dogs.
So.
And then you have the usual circumstances where somebody lost their home or had to move, somebody died. So sometimes we don't know what happened to the person who had all these 5 red ticks.
No.
We usually don't know much about the story. And sometimes like for example, this dog has probably not lived in a house before. Probably was kept outside with a pack of dogs. So people who adopt them can expect a kind of breaking in period where the dogs are learning about household sounds and smells,
tile floors, stairs,
all those
right?
things.
Yeah.
It's a big learning curve.
Yeah. Like he seems so gentle and nice. How old do you think he's? Do you have any sense?
We think he's about 3 or 4 years old.
So he looks sort of puppy-like,
And
but he's not.
he could gain a few pounds, but this is a pretty typical size.
You're so cute.
And some of the other coonhound types are blue tick, which would be a blue ticking, red bones, which is all red, the color of his ears.
Okay.
Black and tan, they're black with little tan eyebrow dots and tan paws. The plot hound is a brindle, and then the other dog we have here is a Trainwalker Coonhound.
Oh. And do they get cold up here in the winter?
They
do
don't
they need coats?
really. We do usually put coats on them in the dead of winter, but they're pretty active when they're out. He's starting to track now. This is pretty typical behavior when you're out.
So what does he hunt?
They hunt raccoons, small rodents. They actually use them to hunt bobcat and bear and deer. In some places, they'll run deer down with them.
Really?
Yeah.
And now their job is just to identify the deer, and then the hunter is just like...
Well, when hunting not so much with the deer, but all of the prey that will run up a tree, what they do is they'll chase it up a tree, and then they'll guard the bottom of the tree, and they'll howl and bay until the hunter hears them. The hunter could be a half a mile away.
Really?
But each hunter will recognize the sound of their own dog, and they'll walk toward it, and then the hunter can, capture whatever it is. And I have treats in my pocket.
You have
And
treats?
you found them.
Are they food motivated?
Very food motivated.
That's nice. That's nice. Well, that's nice for training, right?
That's right.
So, we should meet the other one.
Yep.
Bye, Milburn. You're so cute. So this dog, what's his name?
This is Duke.
Oh, Duke. This dog seems much bigger.
He is bigger, and he's pretty big. He's on the bigger side of what we have available. So this is a Trainwalker Coonhound, not because they walk up trees, because a man named Walker Red was active in the breeding of this type of coonhound. He's about 65 pounds.
Okay, yeah.
So
good
he's
size.
a little on the bulky side.
Okay.
But this is probably the most common type of coonhound that you see. And the southern shelters are really full of these. I think some of the tick towns get adopted more quickly. And
I see.
Just a lot of these. But the interesting thing about these coonhounds is that they're a distinctly American breed. They were one of the first breeds to be created in the United States in the early 1800s. And they were bred because as people were moving toward the mountains, Appalachian, the hills of Pennsylvania, they needed a sturdier dog than the foxhound with these big paws and webbed feet and so forth. And all of their prey was running up trees. So they needed treeing hounds. And so they created coonhounds. And they're really kind of a solid part of American rural culture. Even the cartoon characters Pluto and Goofy were modeled on coonhounds. You see the long ears.
And you
often
like her, huh? Your tail is going a mile
They have
a
a
minute.
little knob on the top of their head that you can feel sometimes.
Cool.
And even some of the language that we have, like barking up the wrong tree, that refers to coonhound
That's so
hunting
funny, right? That makes
behavior.
sense, right?
And when people talk about keeping something at bay, like you don't want to get in conflict, that refers to keeping the dog at baying, not running into engage in the conflict.
Now his ears don't seem as big or as heavy as...
No, and he may be, he's probably not right on the breed standard. He might have something else in there. The ears really should reach the tip of the nose.
Oh,
And so
hi.
they're
You're
a
so
little bit
friendly.
short.
You're so friendly.
But I can let him off if you want to see.
Go, Duke, go.
Okay. There you go.
So he will just search out anything.
Right, so he's nose to the ground, he He's going to see what he can find over there. This is typical, nose down, tail up, and that's how they track.
Do they just track all day? Like, will they just be in your backyard?
Oh, well, people with coonhounds talk about two speeds, like 100 miles an hour and sleep.
Okay.
So when they're out, they're very stimulated. They would do this out here for an hour or so, and then they'd have a nap in the sun.
Okay.
So, but when they're really hunting, they'll be out for 4 to 6 hours. They hunt at night with them, out
really?
tromping through the forest.
And the hunters must have done a lot of like training of these dogs, right? I mean,
A lot of it is instinctive.
Is it?
It's really bred into the DNA. But they do some training. They expose them to raccoons and get them all excited.
Okay.
And they reward for that.
Gotcha.
So, and United Kennel Club has competitions for how many barks per minute on the tree and how
really?
fast the dog can tree and scent tracking and things like that.
Huh. I don't know how big your yard is, but they're off.
Yeah.
What do you think they're hunting for here? Squirrel?
Rabbits,
Raccoon.
squirrels,
Oh, they go for
chipmunks.
What happens if they find a rabbit?
They'll chase it down.
They'll just chase it?
Yeah. I mean, and they might capture it
Yeah.
if they could, if it
They-
doesn't run into a hole first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, and they're fast. I bet they could.
Yeah, they are very fast. And when they get loose, they can cover a lot of ground. So we're very adamant with our adopters that they keep the dogs leashed or in a fenced yard.
Yeah.
Because they do not understand recall well.
Okay.
You may be able to get them to do it occasionally, but it's not reliable. And a loose coonhound can be 50 miles away
Wow.
in a matter of hours. So it's not good for them to be loose.
Right. Do they like to be in pairs? Like, do you like to adopt them two at a time?
I love to adopt two at a time.
Okay.
They are not meant to be a single dog, like a border collie or something. They work in packs, in pairs. A lot of times they have much fewer anxiety problems if they're in a home with another dog. It doesn't even have to be a coonhound. It's just another dog, because that's usually the environment that they have come from. And it calms them down and gives them a playmate. And you know, if you don't have a fenced yard, you're in for a lot of walking with these dogs. If you have a fenced yard and another dog, the dogs will pretty much entertain themselves.
Right. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for saving all those dogs.
Thank you. So
Oh.
my pleasure to be here.
Yes, so we will give you all the information, so if you want to adopt or donate or volunteer, we'll put it up on the screen, and you can help out these beautiful
We
creatures.
have a website.
Okay.
Coonhound Rescue.
Okay.
.org.
Oh, he came. He's like, I finally tracked what I was looking for. He's like, I found it. They're back.
Is that good?
He's like, yes, I'll take the rest, thanks.